Good afternoon and thank you for booking to attend this IFS UK and Ireland user group event. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Amanda Miller and I'm the manager of the user group. We're very happy to be working with our partners ClickLearn again, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for their continued support of the user group. This session will give you an overview of the many new features of the latest ClickLearn Attain release. This new release is intended to revolutionise how training and documentation content is authored and delivered to IFS users. Today we have Aaron, who's Sales Manager at ClickLearn, and Peter, who is Customer Success Manager at ClickLearn. During the webinar, you should find out how to create better materials in 7 different formats, achieve faster results during any implementation and upgrade project, achieve true collaboration, provide built-in support to your IFS users, and deploy user instruction anywhere. We are running this event slightly differently than usual today and hope it will be an interactive event. Peter will play a pre-recorded video of the presentation, and Peter and Aaron would like to encourage you to ask questions as you go along. You'll be able to watch any conversations on your Q&A screens. So I will hand you over to Aaron and he will introduce the event and get us started.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Hello everybody, welcome to this session today. We are glad to be again here. We've done a couple of events last year and it's been a great experience. Of course, we've done some events as well live before, which was enormous, joyful. I'm glad for your support, Amanda. Thanks again for the opportunity to be here today. And we always would like to be part of those events, simply to meet people and also to introduce what we are doing, what we are up to in general. Today's session, I guess, will be roughly about an hour. And you probably see already my screen, the blue screen with the ClickLearn for IFS logo. Let's kick off then directly. What I will do, I will take a rather shorter part of this demo. We might have some people that already knows us. We might have today some people that already are customers, or of course we might have also some that never seen ClickLearn or never heard about us. So what I will do, I will give you a short presentation of who we are, what we do. We'll briefly touch on the values we provide to our customers and the technology, and then we'll very shortly give you an idea also on the benefits. Peter will then take over and he will of course be presenting the more important part. He will be running the demo, presenting ClickLearn on IFS apps 10 and as well some parts on Arena. As Amanda mentioned, you can ask your questions immediately during the demo itself, but we can also spend some time later after the demo itself and answer any potential questions you have. So let's start then. We at ClickLearn serve above 600 customers as of today. We do support partners and corporate customers that use our application to map their business processes, to capture the knowledge within the organization and convert all these to user instructions and learning materials. Through those 600 customers, we do help above 8,000 authors. These are the super users in the organizations that more or less work on a daily basis with ClickLearn. Our relationship with IFS started in 2015, and since then we have onboarded above 200 IFS customers. We are a global partner and an IFS Platinum partner, and have been rewarded as the Software Partner of the Year for the last consecutive 4 years. Our headquarters are in Copenhagen, Denmark, and we have an office in the States and one in India. When it comes to our mission, it's very simple and straightforward. It is making you IFS customers more successful with IFS products. That including IFS applications starting from 7.5, 8, 9, and 10, including IFS Arena, and of course IFS Cloud now. Let me give you a short overview of the solution and also the values the solution provides to the customers. The first one, of course, is linked to the creation of instructions. In many cases, that can be challenging. A lot of companies might need to do it manually. It involves different departments, and unfortunately, in many cases, the output of this all work is very limited. What we do, we automate the whole process for you. So ClickLearn writes the instructions for you. What you simply need to do is walk through the process when you are in IFS applications ClickLearn will document each single step and convert this into high-quality instructions. Those instructions, of course, will be formatted to a corporate template, and they will match your corporate identity. When we ask our customers about the biggest benefits of those, it is, of course, time saving, and customers can save up to 80% compared to manual methods. The next value is related to keeping those instructions alive and update those. We see that this tends to be an even more challenging task than creating the instruction from scratch. It does again involve a lot of manual work. Users need to go back, they need to to find the changes, they need to do screenshots, add a lot of text, and potentially also translate everything from scratch again. We do automate this part as well. ClickLearn recognizes the changes in your solution. What you simply need to do is to click on a replay button. ClickLearn will stop at the changes. You can simply update the steps and save the material. Of course, this is very useful in several different scenarios. One of them is when you are upgrading from a version to another one with the application, or others might be cases where the business is asking for modification or changes in the process. We have discussed until now a lot about our partnership and how we support IFS, but of course we see that a lot of companies and organizations have different solutions in their portfolio. And with ClickLearn, cross-system instructions are fully supported. If your process leaves IFS product, ClickLearn will follow, and it will create the same high-quality instructions also in those environments. Imagining a scenario where your process leaves IFS applications and enters an Excel file, this will be captured by ClickLearn seamlessly without even the author to realize and recognize this transition. We do provide this with our smart connectors, and we have different connectors for different solutions. For example, Office applications, Windows applications, third-party web applications are covered, of course. We do cover also many of the Dynamics segment platforms, and of course other ERP solutions as well. The three values I talked about now were mostly linked to the organization and the authors. The next few values will be linked on the very important part, of course, the end user. What does the end user get from the materials created with ClickLearn? We do produce instructions in multiple formats. Those instructions can be translated into multiple languages as well. And of course, we do provide the common formats like Word, PowerPoint, PDF. There is a web page with hyperlinks to the instructions as well. Those formats, of course, are very useful in different scenarios. For example, on-site training for PowerPoint presentations. But on top of those formats, we do also provide multiple training videos. The training videos can be also translated into multiple languages, and they are computer narrated in the local language if preferred. We have the Show Me video, which simply explains the process without any interaction required. We have, of course, the Try Me video, which requires the user to complete specific steps in order to progress with the guidance and the user instructions. And the last format of video is the Test Me video. This video requires the user to complete specific steps while being measured and tested. All the formats that I mentioned are actually SCORM compliant, meaning that you can simply take the files created from ClickLearn and embed those, deploy those to any learning management system you have in your organization. The last format we provide is the ClickLearn Live Assist function. ClickLearn delivers on-screen guidance inside IFS applications. So whenever the user needs assistance with a specific process, they can activate the assistant, which will guide them step by step inside the live environment. This, of course, is great help for the user because they don't have to call help desk or not even read any manuals in order to complete a process 100% accurately. We've discussed a lot about how to create instructions. I mentioned areas of the formats and so on, but of course it's very important also how do we make those available and easily accessible for the users. We have a very simple and quick solution for that. We do deliver a complete learning portal inside or outside IFS applications. The customers can decide where they would like to position this portal. And of course, those portals will help you organize or monitor the onboarding process of the users, not only the onboarding, but of course also the next steps of your users' learning curve. And the final value is related to how we work our customer care and support. First of all, there is no complexity or there is no infrastructure when you start using ClickLearn. There is no server-side implementation. There are no API integrations as such. We have a streamlined onboarding program, several training sessions included. We do help with the installation and configuration of the platform. And of course, we do train and retrain staff at no cost, meaning that whenever there is someone joining the project or has to be using ClickLearn, we will make sure they know how to use the application. We then have, of course, support with the template customization, and we do also help with any questions regarding the deployment of the materials, be it using our content cloud, SharePoint, intranet, or any other media. Moving from the values to the overall benefits and which departments benefit most of the application. We mapped 3 different departments here. Of course, IT is one of those. IT is very happy with the solution because it's a 360-degree application. They can map a lot of different projects and a lot of different technologies. We do reduce help desk calls enormously, and everything is automated. Actually, IT's involvement in many projects is minimal, potentially none at all. Users like the output of the application because we do support any learning style. By providing the 7 different formats, we allow the users to consume the information the way they prefer. And of course, we have some users that might want to read a Word document or a PDF, a PowerPoint. We do have another group that might want to watch and listen to a video. And of course, there are users that would like to try out things. And with the Try Me video, they can do that in a sandbox safe environment. All instructions are uniform. As they are templated, no matter who the author is, they will have the very same look and feel for the user. And finally, the on-screen live assistant is very important and useful, especially in scenarios where your user is new to the application or new to the organization and the processes within this organization, or they are new to the version of the specific platform. And finally, about management and the ROI for the organization. We do reduce implementation risks and support high process accuracy. Due to the fact that everything is recorded easily without enormous amount of time spent, it's updated easily, and all different formats, we help those 2 areas. And of course, very importantly, we do support you with rapid user adoption and fast onboarding of the users. Just to give you an idea, after the demo, if you like what you've seen, of course, we will be very happy to provide you with a trial license if you haven't got one earlier or if you are not an existing customer already. There is a training link to this license. We will make sure that you know how to use the application during this period, and you can experience the application in your own environment. You will experience how it is to work with our support team, customer care, as well also account management and sales. That was all from my side. So what I will do, I will pass over to Peter, who will be demoing the next part, and I will be here also with him later to answer any potential questions and support you if you have any questions and see and wrap up the demo as well. Peter, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. And I'll just add that up here. And of course, remember, we're sitting by here to although it's a video, we're sitting by to answer any questions that you have as we go along. We're simply doing this in a test thing to see if we can be more sufficient in the way that we're spending your time doing this so that we can ask questions and answer at the same time as we go along. And of course, afterwards, we'll also be happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's get it on. Well, hello and welcome to this session here where we're going to look into ClickLearn and see how it actually works with IFS. So ClickLearn, that is of course an authoring solution, and what we can do is that we can take any given process and convert that into documentation and into 7 different learning formats. This is so we can engage your audience and your end users in the best learning style of their choice. But let's kind of just jump directly into it and see how does ClickLearn actually work. Well, first of all, we need a business application of some sort to work from. And in today's session, I have chosen IFS Apps 10. This is a Apps 10 with no updates on it. And this is because I want to show you that ClickLearn not only can create the documentation, but that at a later point in time, we can also update it. So I got a Apps 10.8 patch 9 that has been added to the system. And then we'll see how can we update a process on an updated system. But that we'll look into later on. So we need an application of some sort. And here, IFS 10. Secondly, we need ClickLearn Studio. ClickLearn is a click once application. There's no system integrations. There is no complex infrastructure. The only requirement we have is that you run it from a Windows OS, and that's it. As soon as you download this 50, 60 megabytes large application, you're actually pretty much ready to start recording. You will see, of course, a white page here. I've started out by creating a couple of projects already, and this is because in ClickLearn, what we do is that we work in projects. So when you want to set up a project regarding a specific process set that you want to document, well, then we will, of course, help you with that. So let's start out by creating a project. I'll go up here on plus. ClickLearn will now guide me through the process step by step on what do I need to do. Now, the project that I'm going to create here, that's a concept project. But it could also have been, for instance, an automated process testing or an inside help project. Now, these are two different sets, and we won't get into that in this session, but a nice neat feature to understand is that we can actually use all the processes that you've documented, all these recordings, we can use them in an automated process testing where you can have ClickLearn run through all the processes and make sure that everything is working as it is supposed to be doing. When you're going through an update phase, you can actually have everything tested, get a log file, you can present that and say, well, we're ready to patch the update in here. We're ready to go to the live system with it. So very neat additional feature. But again, today it's all about content. It's about creating documentation. It's about creating learning formats for your end users. So we'll get that into the content project. Here I'll choose what is it that I am, what is my role? Am I the author, the one that is creating? Am I a contributor so that I am just adding additions into it, or am I the project lead? Now I am the author here, so I'll have that in there. I can set up a team regarding the process that we're about to document or the project here. Now, in this case here, it'll just be me, but I could easily have invited anybody from my organization into this project, but I could even also invite people externally in here. So this gives me this fantastic option that I can now involve external people and have them contribute with information to the project that I'm working with here in Attain. Secondly, I'm going to choose the main connector that I'm going to be working with. And as you can see here with IFS, we of course support all of IFS applications. That's all the way down from 7.5 and all the way up to Arena. We support the entire IFS Field Service Management, FSM. And we, of course, support the IFS EOI. But today it's going to be on the Apps 10, so I'll click on that one. And when we get into that one, then I'll choose what connector it's going to be for. That's going to be IFS 10. So here I can go in and say, well, how do we want to set it up? I have, do I want to add in, import anything from the IFS scope tool, or do I want to add something from a cloud directly? Now, right now, I'll just decide that later. The Content Cloud, that is where I'm going to deploy this to. The Content Cloud, that is part of your license. It's hosted on Microsoft Azure. But what is really neat about it is that you can have your content available 24/7. You don't need to involve IT in getting where do you want me to store the material. Anything that you update instantly, that will be updated. And of course, it is in a safe and secure environment so that you won't have anybody that you have not given permission to see the material. Of course, you can also take that on-prem if you want to host it on your local system. But today, I'm going to do this on my Content Cloud. Secondly, we come into localization. This is because we can, of course, also have this converted into multiple languages. And I think that today we'll see if we can do that. We'll start out by recording in English, and then we can take it into a Spanish recording afterwards, have that localized into Spanish. Template, I'll go for the classic template from ClickLearn, but of course, customizable. Now we'll give my project a name. We can call this IFS Learning Portal, and we can choose a color of choice. Now, I do like the ClickLearn color, so I'm of course going to choose that one. And now I'm going to go ahead and create the project. So ClickLearn has now created the project. It's already set up here. If I click on that one, ClickLearn then takes me into my project. So now I'm ready to start creating documentation. I could also have had previous recordings and then I could just drag them in here. But since I don't have that in this project here, I'll just click on Start New Recording. I'll start out by giving it a name. We can call this Edit a Vendor. I'm going to do this on English. So I'll choose English as my original language, but I could also chosen to start out in Spanish, and then I've gone in here and changed it according to how I set up my language in the beginning. Location, right now it's pre-chosen to the Content Cloud as we did when we set up the project. But again, with ClickLearn, if you want to store this different place, you can easily go in and change this in here. You always have that control when it comes to ClickLearn. Now, I'm going to go ahead and have this recorded in here. I'll click on next. And as I click on next, ClickLearn will take me to the live system. It will go into the background. It will turn on a recording guiding screen. So here I've got a couple of choices. I can start out by doing a single step just to see, well, how will all of this actually work? So as soon as I click on the red button, ClickLearn will take me to the system, and I can now move over here and say, by the way, I would like to go to the navigation button. There we go. You can even see the little IFS logo in the upper right corner of my green rectangle, indicating that ClickLearn understands here's a process that can be recorded, and then it's ready to do the recording. So I'll click on that one. ClickLearn now stops up and say, okay, so here you can see, well, we've gotten the instruction here, we've added in the image, and we can see, well, how does this actually look? Okay, I'm pretty happy. I'm satisfied. I've got the written instruction. Let's just go ahead. I'll put that on automatic, click on the red button, and I can now go ahead and record all the steps that I want to record. So let's go into a company. We will go over here and click on the populate a list. And even though I go into a drop-down menu, or if I go into a context menu by right-clicking over here, going into details, ClickLearn just follows along. ClickLearn understands every single part of IFS, and it has no trouble in helping me document any process in here. When I'm all done, I'll just stop the recording, and you will see all the steps we just went through. They have already been written. I can go in and see a specific step in here, say, okay, that's how we recorded that. That's how that's going to look. Okay, fair enough. I even have the ability to go in here and say, well, I want to add in a screenshot here. Let's take that one there. Build countdown. Takes a screen capture. It will add that screen capture to the process we're just looking at in a second. And you can see that it even took figure out that there are 67 steps in here that we can go in and add more information about. So you now have the ability to also add in annotated screen captures with ClickLearn Attain. Now, when you're all satisfied, you can of course just turn on the stop button. It will stop the recording. It will take me back to ClickLearn Attain. It will ask me, do you want to go directly to the recording list and start recording something new, or do you want to go into the editor? Now this step here, let's just go into the editor. Have a glance at what did we actually just capture. ClickLearn gives me the source file. It opens up the editor, and it allows me now to add more value. But as you can also see, we get a preview pane over here on my right-hand side. I'll just enlarge this one here for a second. So you can see we already have the title added in here. We have everything added from the template that I'm using right now. So that's the ClickLearn template. But again, when you start working with this, we will of course help you set up a template so that it will have your corporate identity. It'll have your colors, it will have your company logos, it will have the font style of choice. Everything will be organized so it has that look and feel that you want to deliver. Within here, we can even go ahead and see all the different formats we have available. So ClickLearn has instantly created a HTML page where I can see, well, how would this process look? I even have a feedback option down here at the bottom. It gives me a Word document where I can go in and open that one up. I can see, well, how will this look in a Word document? And as you can see here, instantly that has been created. We even have a header here where we can capture metadata, and we can add all sorts of information that we want to add in there. You get, again, the choice of what is the font style that you want to have in here and the size of the thumbnails. Everything will, of course, be set up so it has that look and feel that you want to. But as you can see, instantly that has been created for us.
Now the PDF document, that will be a conversion of the words. So they will look alike, just in a different format. Again, that has also been created instantly for us. As you see here, we now have this complete PDF file that contains all the different instructions that we just added to the process. If you're going to do classroom training, if you're gonna go ahead and do social trainings where you're sitting a larger amount of people and walking through the process that you just captured or that you want to implement into your organization, well, then looking at cropped thumbnails is probably not the ideal way. So we created a PowerPoint presentation for you. Now we altered this PowerPoint presentation just a slight bit. And this is because we know that when you're viewing on a large screen, it makes more sense to have the full screen capture. So of course, when we do the PowerPoint presentation, it will be set up with your corporate identity, your logo, font style, but you still have the written instruction, the capture of the screen, and of course the marking of the area of interest, so you can easily go about showing how will this process look in a live system. Very good way to teach your end users in that. So this were the 4 different types of written instructions that we create instantly. But of course we know that your end users, they are not just satisfied with a white paper and maybe a classroom session. There are end users that really much need that semblance of the auditive and the visual at the same time. And more are leaning towards doing video documentation also. So we created the Show Me video. This is a walkthrough of the process that we just captured.
Click on the navigator button. You may also press Ctrl plus Shift plus F. Navigate to Application-Based Setup, Enterprise, Company, Companies. Click on the menu item drop-down Search. Click on the menu item Populate. You may also press F2. Right-click on the column name with the value IFS Racing USA. Click on the menu item Details. Click on the data field Form of Business. Click on the data field Activity Start Date. Click on the data field Authorization ID.
As you can see, the cursor is just moving seamlessly through the steps, showing us exactly where to click. It's also giving me perfect narration of all the instructions that we started out by capturing. So we're using these high quality digital voices to narrate out all instructions. And the second one, we'll go into the editor and add value by adding in maybe some sections, notes, some images, whatever I need to add in there to enrich the work instructions to the level that I want to deliver to my end users. Well, then all of that will also be narrated by the digital voices. And we have at the moment about 148 voices covering about 51 languages. We got male and female voices. We got different accents to the major languages. So there is a large variety to choose between. Now, the second video we create up here, that is the Try Me video. So the Try Me video, that is going to be interactive.
Click on the navigator button. You may also press Ctrl plus Shift plus F.
Now, as you can see here, the cursor is no longer showing me where to click. Instead, it's giving me control of the cursor. It's telling me where to click by giving me the red square up here, and it's giving me the written instruction. So am I kinesthetic? Am I the one that needs to get the process under my skin and try it out on the computer? Well, then this is a very good way of learning the process that way. Simply because here you get to try it as if you're in the live system.
Navigate to Application-Based Setup, Enterprise, Company, Companies.
I get to go and click where I need to click, so I get to see the process as it was intended to do. I cannot go rogue or go anywhere else in the application and therefore not create any support tickets or maybe even tamper with some valuable data. All I can do is that I follow the process as I was intended to do.
Click on the menu item drop-down Search. Click on the menu item Populate. Right-click on the column name with the value IFS Racing USA. Click on the data field Form of Business. Click on the data field Activity Start Date.
Now if I click somewhere else, see, it won't progress until I go to that specific field of interest.
Click on the data field Authorization ID.
At the end here, of course, and you might also seen that at the previous video, the show me video, we have this feedback option where you can go in and rate it and you can give an instant comment. This is, in my opinion, a brilliant way of shortening the distance between the end users as us as authors. We really rely on that feedback that the end users can give us. And here we don't get anything lost in a management change. And especially when we are working in large global companies, there can be a long distance between an end user in one of the other places in the world and where we're sitting. So really, really neat way of getting this. And I'll show you at the end in the analytics where we're capturing this information. Now, the last video that we have here, that is a test me video. And the test me, of course, it's going to run on the same simulation as the previous video.
Click on the navigator button. You may also press Ctrl+Shift+F.
Here, it's no longer showing me where to click because we are in a scenario where we want to be sure that our audience, they have understood the process. Now, I do notice that there is a little tooltip up here that is showing me that it might be in this area, but let's say that I've not paid attention and that I don't know where we're about to go. So I'm thinking, well, it's got to be something up here where I can navigate through. On the 5th attempt, it will of course score me wrong and it will show me, no, this is where you need.
Navigate to application-based setup, enterprise, company, companies.
We'll just turn off the voice for a second here. Here I can go ahead and go through the steps here. Of course, we'll have the narration as you heard before. And at the very end of my process, it will of course tell me how did I do in this here. Now, of course, I scored wrong in the first one. And I even did a misstep in the last one, as you saw. So luckily, I did pass this test with a passing grade of 87. And this is because this is set up by default for an 80% passing grade with 5 attempts. And again, other standards, they can be customized. So here you get a test scenario where you can also see if your end users, they have understood the process that you're about to engage with. So this is how easy we create a process and how easy we convert it into the 7 different formats and how the 7 different learning formats, they actually look like and how they support these different learning styles of your end users. But click here, click there, and navigate through is only half of the process. We need to add more value. We need to be able to add more details in there. And since we're already still here in the editor where we just had a preview of everything that was created, let's just add some of those additional steps in there. So let's start out by adding in a section. That could be the objective. We could even add in a note stating, well, what is the objective of this process here? Probably gives itself away in the title, but let's just say that we want to add in a text block. Now we can choose either just a text block with an image like we're having here, text block with an image underneath, or an image block, however we want to do this. But let's start out by just adding in a text block where we put in the information of the objective. Now, anything that we add in here, that will of course be narrated with the digital voice that we heard in the beginning. It could also be that I need to add in an image of some sort. That could be a workflow diagram, something that relates to the process here. Well, then again, I just go up here, I add in a text block, and that could, for instance, be an image block where I want to add this in. I can choose either from previously uploaded to my project here, or I can simply just go to my computer and add in any assets that I want to have in here. Now, in this case here, we can take my little friend and add him in. Confirm that I want to add him there. It will upload to the content cloud, save the changes, and it will now update my preview so I can see, well, how does this actually look in my process? So now I've added in an objective, I've added in the note of what that was and an image. And this way of adding in sections, adding in images, additional informations, wherever I want to is very easily, and I can do that through my entire process here. Now, it could also be that I want to alter some things in here. So that's say that I don't want to focus in this one on one specific account, but I want to be able to choose any of the companies that are within this window here. It's because we want to create this more of a genuine process. Well, then I'll just go to that very step. I will edit it. I will say choose any row, save the changes, and ClickLearn will now change the written instructions. You can say to choose any row in the column name, but it'll also change the marking of the area of interest, and I can now choose any one of these as I go to the try me or the test me video. It could also be that I want to tighten up something here, because now that we have 3 steps in here that is all from the same window, well, then I want to kind of group that together. Well, then I'll just go down here, take the 3 steps from the form of business, and then I'll mark them up into a group. We can call this the steps, and add it as a numbered list or a bulleted list. Now, I like the numbered list, so I'll choose that one, and then I'll save the changes. ClickLearn will now take these 3 steps and add them into one thumbnail, give me a numbered list, and indicate exactly what step here relates to what marking of the thumbnail here over here. So now that we have added more value to our process, we've even added in headers, different sections, we have altered where to look on the screen, we are pretty ready to deliver this to our end users. And now I'll just simply go up here and close this one down, save it, and now I can add it to my structure. So when I want to create a learning portal consisting of multiple set of recordings, I can easily do this. I simply just change over to my structure. The structure is where I organize all my recordings with different chapters or sections, as we call them, and then, of course, add in any additional information. So we could say that I want to add a chapter in here involving, we can call this one the vendors. And I can change the color down here. So if we want to keep it with the color of ClickLearn, I can do that. And now I can take my recording and just drag that over to my section here. So now we can see that I have a group up here called the vendors, and where I've added in edit a vendor. And again, I can organize it so I can put in the color that I want to, and I can also choose what languages do I want this to be represented in. So far, we only created this one in English, but I already checked off the Spanish part. I'll show you how we can have that reorganized in just a second. If we take a glance at the preview up here, we can instantly see what have we created. Well, since we have a template running in the background that is generating the learning portal, well, then you can see here that I now have a learning portal where we have a section called the vendors. Within that, I have the recording of the how to edit a vendor, and I can now see all the different formats and everything that we did in the editor earlier. Here we have, of course, the HTML page, and again up here I can open up so I can see all my different formats. In this structure, I can of course also add in additional headers, I can give additional information, I can add in dividers, I can add in hyperlinks, so I can organize my structure exactly how I want this to appear for my end users, and with all the additional needs that they would have to require for learning the process that we created for IFS. When we take all of this here and we say, well, I kind of want to make this available for my end users in multiple languages, then I can just go down here to the localization. If you want to save your recording, yes, please save it. Again, always reminding me if I want to save something and how I want to progress in my process here. To start out with, everything is missing. It's not missing, but I have red bars down here. So I start out by running an analyzer. The analyzer should hopefully tell us that our English recording is is completed, but we're missing everything in the Spanish one. So what do we do here? Well, we can start out by saying, please go ahead and look at the replay part. When we go in here and we look at the localization, it will tell me that the recording I'm still missing to localize this. I have one asset I haven't localized. I have a structure that I haven't localized, and the same thing goes with the replay. It has not been replayed yet. So what do we do here? Well, we simply just start out by bringing up a Spanish user interface. Now, very neat feature you might notice here is that this one here is actually a patch 9 with an 8 update. Not only can I now localize this into a different language, but I can even update it. So the same thing that we're doing when we're replaying this in a Spanish, it will also give me the ability to update my information so that it fits to a newer update. So let's just go over here and say, by the way, I would love to replay this. Click on the 3 little dots, recapture screenshots, replay as we call it. ClickLearn goes into the background. It takes me to the Spanish interface. it will turn up a replay assistant. And I can now see all the steps that I want to recapture, and I can ask it just to go ahead and start replaying. Don't touch mouse or keyboard. Let ClickLearn take care of the rest now. What happens now is that instead of me dragging along the screen, you will see that the cursor will just jump across the screen over to the navigator button. It will open that one up. It will find the correct node that we are going to navigate to. And then it will open up my my vendor list. It will populate that one. It will wait for the system to update. And when it's all done, it will give me a notice saying that the replay has been completed successfully. So let's take a look at what ClickLearn just did for us. We'll open up the editor again here and we'll enlarge that one. And you will see that ClickLearn has not yet translated any of the things that are put in manually. But if we go down here, we'll see that all the written instructions that related to the process we captured, that has been translated now. Everything is set up and aligned exactly like we did it in the editor earlier. Now the parts we put in manually, we still need to have those localized, and that we can do up here by just clicking on auto translate. Please auto translate all of this. And we can see that has now been translated over here. So let's go out and save this. So if we take it back out here to the localization, we have now translated everything, we've updated all, we can run a new analyze and everything will be nice and green. So now we want to deliver this to our end users. We'll just jump directly over here to publishing. So how do we create this learning portal for our end users? So now we're in here to the publishing part. Now we did in the beginning start by saying we wanted to send this to our content cloud. But again, we get the option in here to say, have we decided that we want to add this anywhere else? It could be that we wanted to download it or whatever. Now I still want to have the content cloud, so I'll just click on next. I want to populate both the languages in here. I want to be able to track the content. Now I can choose to have this public. That means that anybody who gets access to the URL, they can access it, or I can lock it down by simply saying, no, I only want my domains to be working on this application. And I can even add in additional features in here by saying, well, I want to add in an SSO of some sort, a sign-in provider or whatever I want to. So we are pretty helpful when it comes to making sure that you can lock this down. So only the ones that you want to engage with the material can access it. Now for the purpose here, I'll just keep it in public. And as I go in here, it will give me a warning saying, well, of course, when you're public, be aware. And I read that and I'm ready to go to the next step. So now ClickLearn will go ahead and produce my content. So now ClickLearn has done the production and we are ready to publish it. So I'll just click here on publish. So now my content is live and ClickLearn is giving me a URL for my Spanish and for my English version. We'll just copy that just to have a quick glance. How will this look in a browser? So now we have the learning portal that we looked at earlier. We can see that it's completely searchable, so I can easily go in here and say vendor. And I don't even have to type the entire word. ClickLearn will instantly say, well, what words could you be looking for that are within this learning portal that relates to what I'm searching for? At the same time, it gives me references to any of the word instructions I've created that relates to that word. And again, of course, edit a vendor is the only one we have here, so we can easily come in here and see the process. Again, I have all my different instructions available, all my different learning formats available in here. And I can even choose to go in here and look at the Spanish version. And we can see that everything in here is now in Spanish. So that's how easily you go in and create a documentation, how you update it, how you translate it into different languages, and have it made available for your end users at any device, as long as they have access to a browser. Let's say that we want to add some more value to it. We've created this process, we made it available, but we actually need to make some updates in here. That could, for example, be that I want to create a new recording, but that actually relates to the Arena application, as we can see here. So all I do now is that I simply just go back in here, go back to my recording list. I ask it to do a new recording, create a new recording. We can call this that I want to do this in IFS Arena. So we can do the same thing here. Click new, it will take me to the live system, and it will actually work exactly the same way. It will open up my assistant here. I can click on record, automatically record new steps. I can go in and now show the process that relates to the one that we just looked at. So let's go into the application-based setup. We will go into the enterprise node, go into company, go into companies, and then we can even populate a list in here. Now, let's say that I've done some recordings in here. We went through all the steps that we actually just done previously, but I need to go cross-platform. I need suddenly to go into a Microsoft application. That could be an Excel sheet. Well, then all I do is that I just click on the shortcut key of the Microsoft key, for instance. I go to my Microsoft Excel. And as I enter into the Excel sheet, you will notice that the cursor in the little icon in the upper right corner now changes to a Windows icon, because now we're in a Windows application. And as soon as we enter the Excel sheet, well, then automatically it understands that now we're actually within the Excel sheet itself, and the little icon will now translate or change into an Excel icon. And I can in here now add some values, and I can have that documented also. And we can stop the recording. So as you can see here, ClickLearn records just as well in Arena as it does in the IFS applications. It does the same thing, that it actually go cross-platform and goes directly into the Excel sheet and records anything that I did in there. And I can even see still all the different steps that I've recorded in my process. So ClickLearn is not only working with IFS application, but our cross-platform application recorder that can go through all the different processes that you have in your organization. And again, as I go in here, I can just add it directly to my recording list. And now I can go ahead and add that directly to my structure and update that. So with ClickLearn, we have the ability to instantly go in and create the documentation, add value to it, create it in 7 different learning formats, and instantly update any pre-created learning portal that we created with any additional work instructions that we have. We can go back into our publish, we can hit publish, and it will update the URL. Now, since we're basing everything on a URL, and that means that we have the ability to also add in a shortcut directly into your IFS application. So I can simply just go in here and say, add a shortcut. We can say, type an address. Thank you. We'll add in the title. That could be, and now we can, yes. And now we can add in the URL that we had before. Say, thank you. And instantly I get a shortcut so I can get access to that specific URL. Now, this was, of course, a very short recording here portal. So let's see what would it look if we created a larger learning portal. And I've actually done that. I created a larger learning portal in here where you can see we still have the ability to go and see, well, all the different sections we created in here, they will come in bold. We will have all the work instructions in non-bold. We will have the ease of going in here and choosing between the languages that we created. And if I go into, for instance, my purchase section here, and we can see, well, how do I create a purchase order, change order? Well, then I can not only see my 7 different learning formats, but I can also get assistant by clicking on my little friend down here. A live assistant will pop on top of the live system, and I will now be guided through the process on top of my IFS application. So not only, as I said earlier, do we get the 7 different learning formats in a URL-based environment, so we can view that from any device we want to do that on, we can actually also get live guidance on top of our system. So Whenever you have a new employee coming to your organization, well, they can start working instantly because they have the ability to not only learn it if they want to learn it before, but we can also from day one guide them through the different processes that they yet don't know by simply following my little friend here. He will now navigate down to the node for where we have the procurement order, change management, purchase order, change order. It will open up in my system. He will show me exactly this is where you need to focus, and I can now click on that specific step. Progress through the process here and follow my little friend. And at any point in time that I know exactly where I am, I can simply just turn him off or I can follow along. So you get that additional feature in here. Now, if you'll take it back into ClickLearn again, there's one last feature I want to show you. That is the analytics that we have in here. Now, of course, this learning portal here has just been created and it's only the couple of steps that we've been monitoring, but I actually still get some data that has been gathered. So instantly we can see, well, what I've been looking at in here, what are my end users going for, who has been looking at what information, and had I put in comments or anything like that and reported that in, that would also have been put in here. So we have the ability to give you graphics, we have the ability to give you down to end user level details of how are your end users engaging with the documentation. What are they looking at? How did they do in the test me scenario? Did they see the entire show me? So we can deliver you the O data so you can also enrich the dashboard so you can get that backfeed information of your content's involvement. So this was a very quick presentation of how do you do recordings with ClickLearn on IFS in both applications and in Arena. We even did a cross-platform to a different system. We updated our material, we created it into a different language also, and all of this in this short amount of time. And then we even made that available for your end users on any device just by delivering a URL. And thank you so much for letting me present this for you.
Great. Thank you, Peter, for the video. I see we didn't get any questions so far. Is there anything you would like to ask? Anything about the technology? Anything you wonder about how things work here? We can also answer those directly. We could also, of course, show you certain things if you wonder how it works in the application.
Okay, well, I've received a question, so let me ask the question that I've got. So, how will organisations working across multiple entities and locations be able to collaborate on a training project?
Oh, great question. Definitely within the inside the ClickLearn application, there was that part where we could go into the team. We can set up a team, and when you're having this, and since we're going cloud first, that means that it will all be stored in our content cloud, which means that you can be multiple users working on the same project, on the same recordings at the same time. And that means that the collaboration in Attain is just going to be immense. That also means that when you have entities placed around the world, they will be able to all contribute into this at the same time. And also, if you, for instance, need an external person, as I said in the video, that needs to go and deliver some data, well, then they can also contribute in here. So simply because we're storing everything in the content cloud, that gives us that ability to do a vast amount of simply just to collaborate instantly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Aaron, did you have anything to add to that?
No, that was perfect.
And then you mentioned automated process tasking functionality, sorry, in your demo. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yes. When you've recorded all your processes, as we saw before, then we actually have the ability inside ClickLearn to create a automated process testing project. So that means that all the processes that you've recorded, we can reuse them and then set up a test scenario. Now, doing the test actually here is performed on the UI, but it gives us the ability to go in and capture data from one process, add it into a different process. We've done some videos on this where we can show you exactly how does this work. Typically, a process like going into APT is for an IT tech heavy person, and we typically set up about an hour and a half to just go through that process. But it's definitely a very neat feature that you can reuse all the content that you're using for documentation and for learning material, but also use that for testing whenever there's coming out an update. For instance, a 10.11 update coming out, or if you're moving to a newer version of IFS applications, well, then you can have all your scenarios run through by ClickLearn, see how it worked, you get a log file afterwards so that you have that to support that you're ready to go to a live system, for instance.
And we have a demo for the automated process testing scheduled for next week with the user group. So if anyone is interested, of course, they can join there and get more information on the testing. Good. I see there are no further questions, at least not in the Q&A part here.
There is one in here saying, what is the max length of the ClickLearn training video that can be recorded and shared? Also, is it possible to restrict access to some of the videos for certain uses? There's not a maximum length. It's simply just depending on how long is your process. So if you have a 800 step long process, then that's what you're gonna have. So there's not a length max there. Yes, it is possible in Attain to go in and first of all section your learning portal, so there can be parts of the learning portal that is only, for instance, available for your HR department. There is the ability to go in and blur some of the important information you got in there. So there is definitely ways to go in and restrict specifically on recordings and on sections inside your learning portal if you want to do that. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I lost myself for a few moments there. So hopefully it all just carried on without me. That's good. Sorry, Peter. Okay, so let's have a quick check if there's any more questions coming in. Okay, what is the maximum length of one ClickLearn training video? Have you just done that while I wasn't here?
Yeah.
You have. Sorry. Okay, good. Glad to see that it all went well without me. Sorry. Okay, so at the moment it looks as though we have no further questions. If any more questions come in, we'll read them before we finish. But in the meantime, let me do a short wrap up. Is there anything else you needed to say first, Aaron?
No, that was all. As I mentioned earlier, if anyone is interested in a trial, we will be glad to provide it. They can test things out in their own environment. Reach out to me if they have any questions about the licensing. I see there were actually 2 questions here, or 1 question about it, and I will provide this necessary information afterwards. Other than that, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me do a quick wrap up. I hope you all found that to be interesting and informative. I'm sorry that I lost myself halfway through. Many thanks to Aaron and Peter, and of course to ClickLearn for supporting this event. The automated automated process testing that we were talking about earlier, there is actually an event same day next week. So if you're interested in that, you could attend that event as well. And obviously we do hope to see you at another event very soon. So let's have a quick last check if there's any further questions. And then we can finish up. No, that looks like everything. So if you do have any more questions and you haven't managed to type them quickly enough before we finish, then pop them through to me and I'll make sure that they get through to Aaron and Peter. Otherwise, thank you all very much for attending, and thank you, Aaron, thank you, Peter, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you too. Wish you all good afternoon. Goodbye.